Okay. Again, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. My name is Chantal Lerbourg, and I am the chair of education, cultural awareness and education chair for Carolina Haitian Women's Society. We're so excited to be partnering with the Haitian Genealogy Group to have this presentation tonight. What we will be doing during the presentation, we're asking you to stay muted. If you have any questions that pop up, put them in the chat. So our format tonight will be first part presentation, second part Q&A. So any questions that you have, go ahead and put them in the chat. For the second part of the presentation, we'll do Q&A, and we'll kind of answer the questions, maybe group them. If there's a question that's a little bit different than others, then it will be a specific question, but we'll be happy to field your questions and answer them. Once again, I want to thank you for taking the time on a Wednesday evening to come and be with us. I mean, that's just incredible, and we really appreciate it. I'd like to thank family and friends for being here. I want to acknowledge our president, Daphne Tales La Fortune, and Vice President Dominique Alphonse-Sainville. I'd like to also thank Nancy for being here. She's our treasurer. Marlene, our membership and outreach chair. Millie, our special events and programs chair. Thank you for representing our group, Carolina Haitian Women's Society. Our mission is dedicated to empowering, connecting, and celebrating Haitian women in the community in the Carolinas. So thank you so much for representing the group. And I know also there are some other members of the group who are here. Thank you for supporting us tonight. And let's move on. I wanted to present our panel. You've been interacting with them a little bit. There's Alain Eteal, Jerry Joseph, and Flovio. Alain Pierre Eteal is an avid genealogist with over 50,000 names in his personal database and over 20 years of experience. He started his genealogy journey at the age of 11 after the sudden death of his father. Alain loves to track migration patterns inside and outside of Haiti and Saint-Domingue. He actively manages multiple family and history groups on Facebook, including the Haitian Genealogy Group. Recently, Alain shared his research with 50 cousins at a family reunion and is now pursuing his genealogical certification. Aside from his genealogy work, he enjoys cooking authentic Haitian dishes passed down from the ancestors and is known as the family storyteller. Of course, I'll be waiting for an invite, Alain.
I got you.
Flovio is a...
Chantal, just before you continue, I think people
Yes.
still hear the music.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
Flovio is a software consultant with over 30 years of expertise in help desk support, technical writing, and database design. Leveraging her work experience, she helps beginners break down their research into manageable goals and encourages networking between members. From this collaboration, our group has linked over their group, Haitian Genealogy, over 1,600 Haitian ancestor profiles in the global tree. Additionally, Flo is part of several DNA projects aimed at tracing ancestral connections between Haiti and African Americans on the East Coast and the Southern USA. I knew you were the one that I need to connect with because I'm in North Carolina. Last but not least, Julie Joseph, and he is the person I reached out to, and uh, him and Flo, they were so kind and open and passionate. I knew we had to do this. So Jerry developed an interest in genealogy after joining the Haitian Genealogy Facebook group in 2016. Recognizing the value of ancestral knowledge preservation, he became involved in managing the group and promoting Haitian genealogy. He shares information on genealogy through interviews, podcasts, Facebook, and Clubhouse in an effort to generate enthusiasm. Jerry approaches genealogy as more than just names and dates. He sees it as a way to honor one's heritage and bring people together around their shared roots. Jerry aims to inspire the younger Haitian generation to explore their family trees and maintain their cultural identity. Once again, thank you so very much to the three of you. And I will stop sharing so you can start the presentation.
Thank you. All right.
All right, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much, Chantal, for the very warm welcome, and thank you for allowing us to present our great research and find. It is a pleasure for us to be a part of this presentation and also to be with the Carolina Women's Society. I mean, it can't be a better place to be. So our mission statement for the group is Haitian genealogy bridges the gap between the diaspora and those born in and living in Haiti through the lens of genealogy. Jerry?
All right. So our mission basically is as a hub, we access the research, education, resources, and collaboration. We enable people to create and preserve a record of their family history.
And I'll jump in to add that our Facebook group is where you can connect with others who are also interested in genealogy. And this is where you'll find people who are either from the same area of Haiti as you, or you might even find actual blood relatives. So with genealogy, everything is better with friends. So we definitely welcome you all to see our Facebook group and join us.
Thank you guys so much. So why genealogy? So these were questions that Chantal asked each and every one of us. So we're going to give you guys the responses that we gave her in regards to why genealogy. So the first question is, how did you get involved in genealogy research? When my father passed away, I had just turned 11 that June. He passed away that August. And the weekend of his funeral, I was pretty amazed how many people were there at the church, at the cemetery. People I've never seen, but there was my aunt over here and a cousin and an uncle, and there were all these people. So it drove me to figure out how I was actually connected to all of these family members. And 25 plus years later, I'm still doing it. Flo?
For me, my genealogy research started not that long ago. My mother was letting us know about her grandfather and the type of work that he did. He was a traveling minister in Haiti, and she was just so proud of him. So I wanted to learn more about him, and I found many records and journals and all types of things. So I would share those finds with her. So it really was a way to really get closer with my mom and also learn more about my family at the same time.
That's
Well,
awesome.
well, in my case, as mentioned, I think a few of you heard it before. My grandparents died in 93 and 95, so I didn't get the chance to meet my grandfather actually. And that was a way for me to connect with him. That was a way for me to preserve their memory. And that's where I started to basically collect a lot of information. I didn't know I have so many families. It's crazy because as soon as you start to gather all the cousins and you're creating your family tree, you kind of, fall into the rabbit hole. And I found the Facebook group in 2016, and then it was all history, and that's how I got into genealogy.
Awesome. Next question is, what surprised you the most during your journey? I'll let Jerry answer this one first. Excuse me.
What surprises me is definitely the way when you're doing your research is how you can connect with people. Like Alan's been doing this for 20 years, as he mentioned. Flo has been doing this for more than she says. So you realize at a certain point we are all connected. We've had situations where they've gone to school together and in the end they end up basically knowing each other like and they realize that they are cousins. So that's very interesting to me to see how people are connecting. And also myself, I was able to find some cousins, people that I knew from 20 years ago, not knowing that they were my cousins, being the same group of friends. And it's a very, very interesting, let's say, this discipline, I would say.
Awesome. Go ahead, Flo. I'll let you answer this next, and then I'll go last on this question.
Mm, For me, I think the most surprising thing was when my dad gave me a stack of photographs and he said, "Here, I think there's some nice ones you'll like in here for your research." And I came across one that the lady in the photo looked like my grandmother, but I knew it was not my grandmother. And the way she looked at me, you know how sometimes somebody's eyes, they feel like they're giving you a hug. It looked like that. So I had to ask him, I was like, "Who is she?" And he said, "That's my grandmother." And so that's how, and he told me her name and he had a photograph of her. And I was floored because I didn't even know we had photographs of my great grandmother. So that was amazing to me. And definitely got hooked after that.
I love to hear that. What surprised me the most was, I mean, Haitians are very diverse, but when you start doing the research and you look into records, it's me, I love following the migration patterns, and it's interesting because you'll see that we as Haitians migrated in and out of Haiti to places like Maryland, South Carolina, southern China, Italy, Germany, Guadeloupe, Martinique, Lebanon, and people migrated from these areas to Haiti, even 1820s, 1890, 1900. So it wasn't just a recent, people leaving in the 1960s. No, this was happening from way before. So it's so intriguing to see where all of our families came from. Somebody was from Jeremy, went to Cap Haitien, and went to DR, then went to Martinique, and went to South Carolina. And this is like 1780s, 1800s. So it's surprising to me to learn so much more about a country that, we're so proud of to be from. The next question, why do you think it is important for Haitians to know their genealogy? I'll answer this one first. It's kind of part of what I said from before. When you're doing this type of research, you end up learning so much more than you think you didn't know. You have to study the history, the timeline, you learn about the city where your family is from, you learn about the different titles and professions, but also for me, it's how can you be so proud of a nation and you don't know where you come from or your descendants or your ancestry. It's so interesting to learn who you are and where you're from, and the fact that you can do the work and you can have actual documentation and sometimes photos to prove your lineage. And it's so amazing to me. So that for me is the most important part. Flo?
For me, I think we all kind of dream of, who our African ancestors were and where did they come from. And so for me, working on my tree and trying to get it as far back as I can, I feel like I get closer and closer to that goal. So that's why I do it.
Well, let's say it's gonna sound cliche, but it's just the old saying that it is important to know your past so you can understand the present and prepare for the future. So that sounds cliche, but I think when you starting to go back and seeing the signatures of your ancestor, seeing someone that you are a descendant of, you share a direct lineage with that person, and that person has lived in a time where you didn't even know that you would be born, and you can see how they wrote their name, you can see who they were, you can see all that information. It's so fascinating, it's so fulfilling in a way for people, and I think when you know where you're from, you know who are the people you're standing, like the shoulders you're standing on? Because these people, they basically had a life just basically at the end of the tree, it's you. So these people, they basically had a life. They go through their issues, and at the in the end, you are the basically the product of all that work, going all the way back to, let's say, great grandparents. So to me, I think this is a very, very precious knowledge to have in family, in your family, to know who you can be and where you're going, basically.
Thank you so much, Jerry. I love what you said because it kind of goes into the next question and my response to that question, which is what is the connection between preserving family history, self identity, and national history? And for me, my late father and late grandfather instilled in me at a young age to be proud of who I am, where my family is from, be proud of your culture, tradition, history. Don't ever let anybody say anything bad about who you are and where you're from because nous sommes haïtiens. And my grandfather used to always tell me the saying up until the day he died was that you bleed the blood of revolutionaries, that the ones who are here because the ancestors made it through the war, through the battles, and we're here. So my genealogy and national identity are deeply tied to me because I used to spend so much time having to prove my Haitianness because I was never born in Haiti, but now I just go with the flow. So go ahead, Jerry. I'll let you answer this question next.
Yes. So when it comes to the connection, I think it's when you preserve your family history, you preserve the nation's history because we are basically we're basically connecting the way we connect, we basically create that nation. I don't know if that makes sense, right? So I think that's how that connection, that basically between the connection between family history, self-identity, that's how it is a connection to national history, I would say.
Um,
Flow.
for me, I think especially learning the history directly from my parents. I was fortunate to have them for many decades in my life and hearing their firsthand accounts of things that happened, living under different presidents, dealing with the embargoes, why they emigrated, all of those things. I got all that firsthand information and it's very nuanced. There was no right or wrong it was every family had a different experience. And I think we all need to record that so that the greater picture can be seen through all the different lenses, but from people on the ground, from actual Haitians. We should be telling our own story. I yield.
I love that. I love that.
Indeed.
I apologize. So starting your journey. So take it away.
Oh, this one's mine? Okay, starting your journey. So I think starting is easier than people think. If you're living and leaving your house, you're doing genealogy already because you're socializing, you meet people at work, you have family and friends over for parties. If you're religious, you have your communion and your marriage. So all these different events in your life are the things that we try to capture and record. So that's the easiest way to start. You don't need a certification. You just live your life and write things down. Write down birthdays, write down, marriage dates, take pictures at events, write the names of the people at those events. Little things like that make a huge difference because they will provide basically a roadmap to the next generation, so they can look at these photos and know who their aunts and uncles were, who their godparents were. So just basic things. Go through, take photographs, keep a journal on your own life as well, so that we can see, what were you doing on the day of the eclipse. Just even little minor things like that are going to be interesting to the people that come after. So definitely record your own life and what you're doing.
I agree. Also, I'm going to leave with one thing also before we go to the next slide is now with technology at our fingertips, record your elders, either video record them or put the microphone on and record them because they're going to give you so much information you can't write it down at the same time. And there's one thing that Jerry, me, and Flo always let people know when they're recording or speaking to elders. If they're being difficult to give you information, ask about
the lights.
ask about their pastime, ask about where they went to school, find out who was the president when you were 15. And then by sharing a story, you can get different information from that story instead of being, hey, who is your great grandfather? What do you do for profession? Because they probably don't know. But taking the time to speak with them and have a conversation, you will actually get more information than by just asking questions. Jerry, do you have anything to add?
Something you mentioned about the older generation, sometimes it can be very difficult because you know, our Gramun can be they can be very difficult and they can be asking you like, "Por que sua besoin qu'on est?" Why you want to ask all these questions, right? And sometimes they can be forgetful. So it's a question on, you know, your grandma, you know, your grandfather, is just to find a way to kind of in interview them, you know, in a better way, in a way that they can accept, because it's a different generation, it's a different way of doing things. Sometimes they are forgetful. They may not have all the dates. One thing that can be very useful, usually if, let's say, sometimes they don't remember when something happened or what date someone was born, you could ask, which under which president did that person was that person born? So that's usually a marker, a time marker that they usually remember. So little tidbits like that. So we have a few things that we share in the Facebook group as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Primary sources.
Okay. Well, primary sources are all those photographs you took at the christenings and the weddings. Those become your primary sources. Also the, let's see, the documents that you might have received. For example, if you attended a funeral and you wrote the obituary, save a copy of that obituary because that'll have the names of all the people that attended, and they're usually relatives as well. So it's simple things that you already have easy access to now. Start collecting some of those things and keeping them in a safe place. For photographs, you can do, acid-free paper to store them in, put them in a waterproof container. So take some steps to kind of preserve these precious documents when you can.
That's great. So another primary source that you can use is DNA. If this is something that is that you're okay with, it's if it's okay with you, if you're doing a DNA test, there are different companies out there. So different companies such as Ancestry, you could have 23andMe. You also have MyHeritage. There are a few, but we always stick to the main ones because we know they're very serious and their data is very complete. So it's just a question of understanding and interpreting the DNA. So Ancestry, 23andMe, Family Tree DNA. So on our group, in our Facebook group, and also on the website, we list all these companies. So these are the companies that we go with, right? So these are the people that we always the platforms that we always deal with to basically go ahead and make these tests. So that these tests, the benefits of these tests, it's actually you are able to, once you do your test, you will get, of course, information about your African ancestry or European ancestry or Levant or whatever it is that you running into your vein. But at the same time, what is very important is the matches. That's something that I don't think is something that is not in the marketing information from these platforms, because that's how you do genealogy, is through the matches. Let's say you have someone that is a match to you, so that person can be a distant cousin, can be an uncle, a great grand uncle, or their descendants, and that's how you can connect with these people and exchange information in order to further your actual lineage and your actual research. Keep in mind that your information maybe sitting somewhere in someone's drawer or someone's album or photo album. So that's always good. Like Flo was saying, you can't do genealogy by yourself. You can't do it in like in a vacuum. It's a collective, it's a group thing. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
already spoke about documents, but let me just say one more thing about it is that, like you said, you don't want to do it in a vacuum because let's say you have all these documents and you didn't store them properly and you get a flood. So this is why you want to, when the kids take their school pictures, mail out copies of those pictures. We'll write your name on the back, write the child's name, their age, and mail that out to all your friends and relatives so that there's strength in numbers. You want to distribute those pictures. You want to share this information with the family so that it's not all in one place. And that helps preserve that, you'll have that one line that kept every document and you'll be thanking them later. So I'll let you continue, Alan.
Definitely, it's definitely very important. Oral history. The oral history is by far very important, but also very tricky because we know as Haitians, they like to embellish the stories just a smidget, depending on who it is, what the family is. Somebody may have been a big senator in Leogan or a big military general, and it could just be hearsay or it could be the truth. But when it comes to oral history, you take it with a grain of salt. You listen, you write it down, and as you continue to search and you do research, the clues from that oral history will help you break down the tree and get more information. You have to talk to your grandparents, talk to their best friends. I have people in the group who were actually lived next to my great aunt or my great grandfather who has told me more information about my family than my family actually knows about their own lineage. So talk to the aunt, the uncles, the friends from school, talk to your dad's best friend, because they were around. They went to school with each other. They know who was in and out. Recently, I just got more information about my late grandfather, my mom's father, about the school that he went to, one of his first girlfriends, and how he met my grandmother. Nobody's known up until this past Saturday how my grandparents even met. And my great uncle actually was best friends with him. They were in school with each other. Mind you, my great uncle's in his late 70s. I just found this out Saturday. So make sure you talk and make sure you get that information because later on it'll be crucial. And if it's too late, it's okay. There's somebody out there that knows something because you never know who's going to know what.
Exactly. If I can add something,
Go
is
ahead, Jerry.
what you will need also is you need to find that auntie or that friend of the family that I'm so sorry, but they will basically spill the beans. They will give you all the information about Intel that did this and that. This is precious information. And sometimes it can be a friend of the family, or it could be that auntie that is very tripotai, very tripot. They will give you that info. That info is important. Write it down and make sure you have everything. You document everything. Obviously, if it's sensitive information, make sure you have it in a place where you only have access to. So that is very, very important. And yes, that's one of the things I didn't want to forget to say.
Mhm.
Anything else, Flo?
One of the suggestions I got when I needed information is they said, who's this person's favorite niece? Send that person to ask the questions. So I did that and it worked like a charm.
Oh, another one is never forget to ask questions to the family, let's say the half siblings. Let's say if
Okay.
there are some petits dehors, ask them. Usually, and it's an odd thing, but it's usually you have a lot of these children that do have more information than the actual children of the couple. It's a very odd thing. I don't understand it, but most of the time the people that are basically outside of wedlock would have that information, will have a lot of information and are usually ready to help. So that's a way to do your research. So whatever you can use it.
And one more, this goes back to photographs. I found out that my third great grandfather remarried after his wife, my ancestor, passed away. That second line of half cousins, they kept every picture. So the pictures on my tree from my grandfather and his siblings, all from that line. We had none of those. They had them all. So you never know where you're going to find photos.
Did you see in the chat, Natasha was like, shout out to all the petits dehors.
Yes. Yes.
But it's true because I've had many instances where I'm looking and searching and I find out it's the half sibling or half brother or half whatever it may be. They have the record, the death announcement, they have the pictures of the great great grandparents. And I feel also maybe because them not being close with the family, not being raised or holding on to everything that they can. And I get more information from the Petit Ondeur, which is it is what it is, than my actual like ancestors. Because I can ask my uncles and aunts, hey, what's this? I don't know. Let me go ask the other person who lived next door. They have all the information. So it's just about knowing who to ask. Like Flo said, the favorite niece, or what Jerry was saying about knowing who to speak to. There is going to be somebody that has the info. You just have to know where to ask for it.
Indeed, indeed.
Okay.
Where do you find records?
Okay, well, I'll start off by saying eventually you're going to run out of your own primary sources, right? We could only have but so much on our own. So this is when you start to branch out a little bit. For beginners, I highly recommend tapping into the indexed records that are out there. There's several sites that do that now. It's becoming a really popular thing. My go-to place is Family Search because they have a really easy interface. You can see you could put in a first and last name or just one of the two if you only have one. The place is optional, the year is optional. So you put in what you know. And maybe you try different variations to see what pops up because different searches give different results. And you just start from there. And their records, because it's indexed, what comes up is a nice typed information. So you don't have to read the French or the handwriting if you have difficulty with that. So this is a really good entryway for beginners. That's it.
All right. So another resource that you can use is it's AGH, which stands for Association de Généalogie Haïtienne, de Généalogie d'Haïti. So that's basically one of the oldest, well, the oldest association for genealogy. They've been around for almost 25 years, if I'm not mistaken. And they basically have been tracking not just the main people in records, but also witnesses, godparents, and their professional title and relationships to the main people, to the actual person that you're looking for. So this is an important information because there are certain ways of processing the administration of people when it comes to, for example, like you could have situations where if the father was not was married and was basically it was a concubine. The mother was a concubine. Certain situations where you will see that the child has the last name of the father as a first name. So these are little things like that that we discuss in the Facebook group and sometimes on our clubhouses. So these are little things that are very important, or sometimes the father cannot be on the actual document as the father because he's married, but he will be as a witness or sometimes somewhere in the document here, well, you'll be a witness. You could also you can find information about the parents of the mother. Sometimes they are listed as the person being the witness or as an uncle or even as the father of the child. So these are very, very important information to know about. Go ahead, Alain.
Awesome, Jerry. So like Jerry said, there are multiple sources and how to locate information. Later on in our presentation, we will provide some of them, but also you join the Facebook group because everything we're speaking about is there and accessible. There are multiple sources, but for beginners, you take it a little slow because it can crowd your head quite a lot. I have found quite a bit of information using digitized newspapers, Le Matin, Le Nouveau Release, and other sources through a digitized library. And I found records from, death announcements and birth announcements from the 1900s and the late 1800s. So there are a lot of things that are digitized, but it does take time because, like, in order for you to extract the info from the newspaper, you have to read it. They don't have the technology yet to type in a name and actually find the information. It's kind of wonky, but I would read the entire newspaper to get the information. And it got to the point where I know exactly the obituaries or the death records are on always the third or fourth page, third towards the back. But it's just insane from many of us who started our research years ago. Records weren't digitized yet. They didn't have anywhere to type in and look for a record and look for Haitian literature. Many of the books, even of our history, is digitized and it's available online. So the fact that technology is advanced as it is now, I'm so impressed to see where it would go, in the future for all of our research. And this right here, this slide is a death announcement from Le Matin. I actually got it from the Digital Library of the Caribbean, which is called DLOC. And that is one of the main sources that we use to figure out who is who. So while searching for information on my paternal lineage, who were originally from St. Mark, I stumbled across a death announcement from 1908. And it literally listed my great-grandfather and all of his siblings. Le Matin, for those who don't know, is a Haitian newspaper that was published starting in 1907 by Clermont Magloire. And while reading this paper, I saw my great-grandfather, his siblings, and I saw other family names. I had no clue who they existed to. But there's a woman, Orisille Morissette, who I'm like, she's somebody's grandmother, aunt, friend, parent, but I don't know who she is at all whatsoever. She is the grandmother or somebody of these men and women, but I don't know if it's paternal side. I don't know if it's the maternal side. I have no clue. It's just a random record. And I remember when I found it, I shared with Flo, oh my gosh, I found this record. And she's like, who is she? I'm like, I don't know. And I just didn't know who she was. And I asked family members and elders and my grandfather, and they go, I don't know who this is. So if you see on the first pink underline, Talma, that is actually my second great grandfather. And everybody listed prior to him, all of his children, the ones who are alive. And then Ursel Morissette is the one listed. But once again, I'm not too sure who she is or where she's from. So I interviewed many of my elders and spoke to my grandfather as much as he could. By the grace of God, he was alive until he was 94. And I picked his brain every moment that I got to obtain this information. He was the last child born out of 13 children and literally a walking encyclopedia. It was insane. So with the information that I found from that death announcement, I started searching through every source that we had, Family Search and AGH and Facebook, and commenting in the group and trying to figure out who this woman was or who was this Morissette family and why were they so important to my lineage. So my grandfather did state once that he recalls that his aunt, who was the firstborn female, was named after her grandmother, but he didn't know the name. So now in Haiti, you do have like a baptismal name. So when you do get baptized, you may have like a Jean-Francois, Mark, Robert, Jerry, Francois. And then what happens is that last name, the name closest to the surname, you're unsure of who that person may or may not be because you never knew of the name. Did my slide just advance? I'm so sorry, guys. So this is one of the parts we spoke to talk with your elders. So he recalls that the name of the daughter was named after her grandmother. But once again, I don't know if it was maternal, paternal, which lineage it was from, because I'm still doing the research of who it is from. Now on this slide, this is my second great grandfather's death record, and he died in 1884. And on this death record, in the pink, Ursula is listed as his mother. So now, through using Family Search, through the oral history, and just sticking research and film plongaye, like you just cast out a net to see what you can grab back, I finally found that this lady is my third great grandmother. But I'm still missing information because I still don't know her full name. So then as I continued to search and locate everything, I found a birth record for Marie-Françoise Cécile, who was the first daughter of Talma. So I said, okay, I found the name. Now I'm still trying to search and find out how Marie-Françoise is going to connect with Urisil because I still don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. Now, most of these people have passed away since before 1915. So there's nobody to ask. So I'm basically just going through records and analyzing, and I'm talking to Flo, and I'm reaching out to Jerry and helping me to translate and figure this out. And we all work together. None of this work is by myself. We all work together to figure it out. But now I'm like, okay, I have to figure it out. If this is the first daughter, that means Urisul has to be Marie-Françoise, but that has to be her nom de baptême. So I'm like, all right, cool. Let me continue to look. We also know in Haiti, we have nom jouet. So we have the nicknames. You could be Marie-Françoise, Anne-Marie Maud, whatever the case may be, but your name is Juju. And we've seen in records where the nickname is on the record. So now you have this cluster of names. You don't know who is who or what to figure out. So I said, let me go to Family Search. Let me go to AGH, which is our golden ticket when it comes to genealogy. It is a group that was founded many, many years ago, and they index the civil records from the National Archives, and it's a treasure trove. So I'm typing in the names, looking for information, and I find this Marie-Françoise Morissette. I'm like, okay, that could possibly be the same woman, but now I don't know. So now I'm looking at the father, I'm looking at the Pagan, the Mayan, I'm looking at the names to see if any of the surnames match anybody that I was looking for. But I also remember that my grandfather said she was named after her paternal grandmother. So everything's kind of linking up little by little, and I'm figuring out who this woman may be. I also want to state that when researching women in Haitian genealogy, it is difficult. I'm not going to say it's easy because, as you guys all know, women end up becoming Madame Intel. And then when the man passes away, it's Madame Verventel. And I have many records where the woman is not even listed. She's known, it's like the death of Mr. Mark's wife. And that's how it's listed. And you have no clue who it belongs to because the man could have been married 3 times. So you don't know which wife it was. So this is the difficulty of it. But for Haitian records, the godparents and the witnesses are so crucial because that could be a mom, the godmother could be an aunt, could be a grandmother, a witness could be the uncle. So there's so much more to locate. So you kind of have to, as we say, cast the net. You have to go high and low and wide to kind of say, hey, who are these people? How are they connected to us? Who are they, or wherever they came from? So I started doing some more research to figure out who everything was. And from that article that I found, from the record I found on AGH, I went to Family Search. Here's the birth record of Marie-Françoise. This is actually an acte de reconnaissance. So sometimes you can be born in this year and it's recorded years later, which happens very often. So she was born in 1831, but it wasn't recorded until 1841. I don't have any reason why. Her father was in the military, could have been a war, he could have been away. There are so many things that happen. But also you have to take into account when doing this research, you can't think of a mindset of Haiti today. You have to think of the 1830s or the 1850s or the 1910s. Each era and time frame in Haiti it was different. The way they managed and moved around and walked around was different. So it's not just, oh yeah, I'm going to find the record. You have to, do the search. But we have a lot of experts in our group and expertise who are able to assist you in everything that you're looking for. So I continued to do more searching and figure out who these people were, where they came from. And between the names of the marriage of the, between the names on the death record, the newspaper clipping, the AGH record, the civil records, I was able to research all of these names and found out that the families that were listed, like Lawoz, Camo, Delva, were actually Urisel's uncles. And her godfather was also her uncle. So I had to stop the research on my lineage, focus on her direct family, and everything just came together. And if I recall, it took me actually a few months or years to do it. And me and Flo were over the moon when we finally figured out who this woman was, because nobody knew who she was. And we finally figured everything out. So it's tedious work, but it's so refreshing and so inviting to know that you can sit there and do this, and you're basically you're bringing your ancestors back to life. You're putting their story on paper. You're literally bringing them back to where they were. And like most of these people are basically, you know, they passed away in the 1915. You never heard about them. But now we, as the newer generation, as genealogists, are taking the time to really figure out who our family was and where are they from. So fan now, Jerry, you're up.
All right. So as we were saying before, you need to definitely speak with extended family. Um, you have cousins, aunts, uncles, their spouse. If your ancestor had a second marriage, as I see people in the chat, they're saying deuxième cabane, you know. So you need to definitely reach out to your half cousins. Keep in mind that you can pe- people can have you can have a grandfather. You have to keep in mind also that grandfather may be the great grandfather of someone. So that information is not just yours. Or that person basically you can help, or that person can help you as well. So it's very important to, of course, keep everything and connect with everyone and work with everyone. So in your family, if you are doing a family tree, just make sure you tell a few, well, as many people as possible, most likely the key people if you can, that you're building a family tree. What that does is you will be surprised. A lot of people are very interested. You might think that you're the only one interested, but a lot of people are interested. They probably will not do the work, but if they have someone that will do the work for them, they are willing to provide and help you with your information. So go with the lower fruits and speak with your family, explain that this is what you're doing. You can even offer to help organize their documents, taking pictures, photos. A lot of people think those photos are maybe not important, but they may be very important for some other people in the family, or even other people that are looking for their ancestors. All right. So you can, of course, ask their permission to take digital pictures of their albums, to keep, of course, keep you in mind if they want to throw out like originals later. That's perfect. Okay. So get more efficient with tools like a mini tripod, like to take pictures, or find an app to take pictures of these old pictures. If you can find someone that can restore them, that's also a great thing. So it's very important to connect with other people to do your research in order to get out of brick walls, get basically go through brick walls, and make sure that you're able to get your research ahead.
You have anything to add, Flo?
Not yet. No.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerry. All right. So, online sources. So, a lot of people I saw were asking the group about different sources, where to go. There are multiple areas for you to use. We do have a website we'll share at the end. We have a Facebook group. There's ancestry.com. There is DLock to get the newspapers. There's Family Search, AGH, Google Books. There is so much information out there. You just have to be cognizant of how to use it and to be patient. You can't go and do everything at the same time, because you will drive yourself insane. And if you go down the rabbit hole, you may not get out. There have been many cases where me and Flo or me and somebody else are researching on a Zoom call, and it's been 6.5 hours and we're still researching and we're still looking for records, and it doesn't stop. It is a nonstop good addiction that we all have. But there are many, many sources. And after you join the Facebook group, we have, Genealogy 101 and Help for Beginners. And we will help you do the first steps and how to research. There are many members, even people here on the Zoom tonight, who started with us in the very beginning, and they've taken off to the point where they're helping us with our members in the group of how to do research. So it's not impossible. It just does take patience, and it's definitely worth everything. It's worth every second, every time, because when you can tell your family story, when you can say, this was my third great grandfather, my family came from Latibonit, my family came from Gandans, and you can say it with certainty because you have records and DNA to back it up. Nobody can stop you from that at all whatsoever. So who were they?
So, and for the previous slide, I was just going to add one more thought before we move on. Patience is key, because one of the things that struck me with the story you gave about Urisil is that it took several years, not for lack of trying, but because the records weren't online yet. Family Search has been working hard to index, and they need volunteers to do that. So we checked back again a year later, and that document had been posted, I think, a couple of months earlier. So it's really a timing thing. So don't beat your head against the wall if you're not finding something. Give it a little bit more time, maybe work on a different line, so definitely go around, keep coming back around to parts of your tree that are a brick wall, and you might find that you have more information later.
You just don't even make me think of something we always speak about. Make sure when you guys are doing research or talking to anybody, write down the date, the time, the location, who you spoke to, and what they said. Because I started my journey when I was 11. I didn't think it would have taken me where it's taken me. And I have information that I cannot tell you where it's from or who told it to me, because it was 20-something years ago. So make sure to journal and notate what you're doing, because you also want to pass this down to other generations. And I can honestly tell you that parts of my tree, I have verified it with records, but the notes and the stories, I can't tell you who told me. So it's going to be there for 200 years, and it's just going to be a story. So make sure you write stuff down and just keep track of everything, because you're going to want a timeline, because you start off small, then you grow and you grow and you grow, and you'll be like me with 50,000 people on your tree, not knowing who is whose anymore.
And the frustration of, you may have grown up with someone, knew them personally, and then you still get questions about whether your version of things is correct or not. They'll go into your tree and start changing things. So that's when it helps to have that rock solid, evidence of, this is who I spoke with, this is when I spoke with them, they saw this firsthand, so that's basically what you want. That's why we call them primary sources. You have that chain of, almost like evidence custody, of where the information came from and that it's good. So moving on, we have our, this is like a recap, basically, of now you're looking at, my phone, of course, just went dead. Hang on one second. Okay, so with the, you started out small with your immediate family. We branched out to our aunts and uncles and cousins, and then eventually you're going to want to go even further out, right? So you keep radiating out. When you run out of leads in one area, you branch out. One of the reasons for that would be if your family was in a rural area, they couldn't, maybe they didn't even have a civil office in their area, so they had to go like 6, areas deep to get to the main part of town, or maybe some other representative went and gave the reports of the births and deaths for them. So you want to look at, surrounding areas, not just the specific town where you knew your family was from. Likewise, when you're looking at the people in your life, you want to it's not just about blood relatives. We were saying earlier, sometimes the neighbors have more dirt on your family or more information than your own family does. So you want to talk to neighbors, you want to talk to their friends, you want to talk to co-workers, the godparents in the records. So the same people that you're interacting with, the people you went to school with, think about who's in your orbit now. And then go back 100 years. If you're trying to figure out, who are these people in this record, chances are it's somebody in that ballpark of somebody they worked with, somebody they went to church with, they went to school with, et cetera, et cetera. And that will kind of help guide your research if you think of it in those terms. So we call it the fan club. It's friends, associates, and neighbors. And those are your go-to people. In terms of, figuring out who people are in the records and how they might relate to you. Sometimes they don't relate in that generation, but you might find a couple of generations later, the family stayed close and now the grandkids are getting married. So things like that happen in Haitian genealogy.
Do you have anything to add to that, Jerry?
Yeah, I want to add, because you mentioned something about branching out. Just want to make sure that, I don't know if that's what you meant, because when you're going up, at a certain point you get stuck, right?
Right.
So maybe it would be great to do, let's say, for example, if you're going up, you get to your great grandparents, right? Maybe instead of looking for your parents, you would basically start to go wide. Like you're gonna look for the tree of an uncle or a cousin, another cousin, and so on. So just go that way, that route, and try to look for their information. Because some people, let's say for example, the mother, your mother was not registered, or any, or someone else that was not registered in your direct lineage, you would go directly into your cousins because sometimes those cousins may have had or may have created their tree. So that way you're gonna be able to branch out. You're gonna be able to search wide instead of search up. So if you're searching wide and then you go to that cousin and then you go to their parents, now at that point they probably have more information than you did. But that's the same tree. These are the same people, and eventually you will basically connect and keep on going further back. Does that make sense?
It
Yeah.
does.
I also want to add something to that as well about going high and wide. Like we know how it is in the islands. Sometimes people marry multiple times. And a lot of times people tend to forget all of the partners or the wives, all of the husbands, whoever the people were with. Everybody is a crucial, vital, important part of your tree, no matter the story or the history behind it. Because by leaving out those people that are part of that tree, you may be missing out on information, on a birth record, on a copy of a death record, or of a photo you never knew existed. Because in my experience, it's always, like Jerry said, the ones under you who have the information. It's always maybe the mistress, or it's the ex-wife, or it's the woman, it was the Estavec, or somebody who was cooking at the house who has the info. And now you're not adding it to your tree and you can never get that info. And if that person passes or you never get in touch with the child or the children, you'll never know who's who. I have my great grandfather, my mom's grandfather, had a few kids with multiple different women, whatever the case may be. That was the norm in those times. And the children of him don't have the stories of him or the photos that I've received. It's the other children who had the information and who were able to tell me their mother's name, grandmother's name, who this lady was, who lived in the house, to the point where they have a picture of the house where they were raised in. And my mother was like, oh my gosh, that's the picture of where I was living. None of the kids have the picture. None of the 8 children had the picture. So everybody is a vital, important part. You have to add everybody. There are multiple ways to make it private, not private. I have a database that's private because there's information that can't get out there, but there's many other ways to do your research and to include everybody to get what's necessary. Because the way that it does work is like when you have ancestry or family search, DNA matches cousins and trees, you contribute to each other and you end up saying, oh my gosh, that's my grandfather or that's my great grandfather. And now this person may have a whole 100 people you never knew existed that are your family through DNA. So the possibilities are truly endless. So just make sure you include everybody. And, that's what I leave you guys with. You guys have anything else to share for this slide?
No, we should get to the Q&A.
Yeah, we're going to get there next. So legacy. Who will carry the baton? How will you pass down the information for future generations? Make sure that you select a family member or an ally to make sure they know like what you're doing, how you work, where you're going. Me and Flo found out through the Facebook group that we're actually cousins through years and years of research, but me and her work off of each other so well. I know if I can just leave everything in her hands and she's like, all right, I got it. She knows how I research, how I work, how I catalog my information. So make sure you find somebody who you can pass it down to, because you don't want the information to be lost. You don't want it to just be in the abyss or stuck in your computer. Jerry?
Definitely, definitely. Also, make sure you organize your information. It is gonna be a legacy. You can even, I mean, I think you should even put it on your will. You put it on your will, you assign someone that will basically follow through and basically continue the research. And you keep it organized so the next person can basically pick up the baton, like you said. And you could even basically try to put this on different mediums such as USB. We know that disc CDs are not in style anymore, so you should be thinking about the future. Nowadays, it's all online, so you could use like an online storage such as Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive, just to make sure that that information does not get lost. This is how you create value. You create basically wealth, family wealth. That's a type of wealth. To know where you're from, that your kids can be inspired to do as you. If you were an accountant, they're gonna know about you. You are the ancestor, actually. Even if you don't have some, some a tree that is, I don't know, 5 generation deep, you can be the first ancestor and have your little cousins or nephews take care of the rest for you, and of course, you will be remembered this way. All right.
Absolutely.
Flo?
No, you guys said it all.
We didn't say it all. So now this portion, we're going to open it up for question and answers, which will be handled by Chantal herself. Thank you guys so very much for being here and letting us share, our why and reasoning and just the starts of genealogy. We can go on for hours and hours and hours. So we try to combine everything all at once. So Chantal, the floor is yours again.
Thank you so much. This was very, very, very captivating and interesting. I was right there trying to scribble notes, so I'm very excited. Um, I'll go with one of the easiest questions that has nothing to do with genealogy. Will you share the recording with us? Yes, we will. We have your email information from registration, and we'll make sure that we do that. One of the questions that we had was how far back or close to Africa your research has taken you.
That's
I'll answer
what
that.
Yeah, go
I knew you were
ahead.
going to say that. So my research is very extensive. I'm not going to say it's not. I do have a database of 50,000 names of research, and I recently am working on lineage to Benin. I do have DNA match cousins in Benin, and they have located the family that I match with, but it's still a lot of work. I also have found records of enslaved ancestors from prior to 1804, 1730, 1740s, who were enslaved, who were freed. There's records of enslaved who were married and had children, and there is so much information out there. But I have traced my family well back into Saint-Domingue into the 1730s, I would say. And I also have other lineages in, Europe, France, Spain, Martinique, and Lebanon, and other places going even further back. So it's possible, but it's work, but it's possible.
If I may add, I want to just to follow through, basically piggyback on what you were saying. One of the issues that we have when it comes to getting to Africa, okay, so finding documents that are connecting us to the colony is very difficult because unfortunately the work when it comes to the archives, there's no slave schedule really that have been publicly provided to us. Unfortunately, as you can see, things are not well in Haiti. We've heard there are a lot of things happening at the archives. We're trying to assess the damage. Now, what we are doing on our side, we are doing what it's called indexing. Indexing is basically those squiggly, griggly French records that people cannot read. So we have a team, and I see some people here that are part of that team that are indexing. They are basically putting all this into a database, making sure that this is available to us. What we are doing is actually the database from the colony, not something that is during the actual republic, but over basically older, I would say, than 1793. So we are basically going back and putting all these names. So and we are doing notarial records. What are the notarial records? Notarial records are basically the actual documents indicating who was sold to who, right? So these people have sold, of course, all their belongings, and of course they did sell human beings, and that's how we are able to connect the research that is being done now and the research that basically will be done in the colonial times. So that is a way to branch and to connect those two eras, because right now these documents are not Haitian; these are French documents. So that's why we have to basically go through all of these records. These are records that have not been seen for 300 years, and this is an amazing job that we've been doing for the past 3 years, almost 10,000 names. It is not ready yet. We're still working. The north is done. We are still working on the south and also the Departement de l'Ouest, the West Department. So we should be able to eventually put a database out there for anyone that was able to go back as far as the 1700s, right? So that's why you need to do the work now, right? So you need to do the work now in order for you to go as far up as possible, all the way close to the 1700s, in order for you to know, to recognize a name or a number, because that's how we were basically indicated into the actual notarial records.
I would like to add one last thing. So just so you guys are aware, there is going to be a gap in records because with the transatlantic slave trade, the records that are kept were not great. So I do have, ancestors that were from Africa. My grandfather told me, yeah, Munsotina Afrique, they were enslaved. And I'm getting closer and closer to finding the information. I've been working for like 10 years now to find the habitation my family was enslaved on in Latiboni. But even with the DNA matches from Benin and from Africa and all the research, I may not ever find the actual connection, be able to say, hey, my eighth great grandfather came from this city in Benin, and this was his mother, and that may not ever happen because of the lack of documents and the lack of the way they traded. So I just want everybody to know that you can do DNA testing and research and find out your communities, ethnicities, and certain parts, but it is difficult to find the direct African lineage due to the fact also when they were brought over to Saint Domingue, they did not have surnames or any kind of notation. They were just Marie, Francois, Joseph, and that was it. So that's a whole nother punch for another day, but I
Well,
just want to add that to
they
the.
did have surnames. It's just it was not recorded. So they did have surnames. Just to mention what you're
Mhm.
saying, and I definitely understand what you're saying. It's just eventually we know them as this, right? As these names. But you're totally right. They did not have surnames, and actually the surnames that we carry, myself, my last name is a Joseph. It's actually the first names of our ancestors. So that is what is different from other genealogies, such as American genealogy, or Black American genealogy, because we carry the last names we carry the first names of our ancestors as last names. So that's one thing that we need to know and very important to understand.
I will add, just bringing it back to United States. We recently realized through there's a new feature called the full text search where you can now go through the US version of the notarial documents, wills, probates, things like that. And with that text search, we've been finding Saint Domingue and Haiti popping up an awful lot. So I think part of the pieces of the puzzle that we were missing is we were not communicating enough with the African American side of the research and tying that with the Haitian research. And that's something we're really beginning to really focus on this year.
Exactly. Something just popped up in my mind, if you allow me,
Of course.
because that basically speaks to the question that was asked regarding the African connection. Now, keep in mind that at the revolution, it was asked for people to get a last name. As I mentioned, people provided their first name as the last name of their children. So that's why we carry that last name. For most of the people, a lot of people did basically follow through with the name of the plantation, but it was a name that they would choose because that's where they were from. It was easier for them to just choose it, right? Now, another thing is during the revolution, and when, of course, all this was done at the beginning of the Republic, when it was asked to provide an administration name, a last name for administration, I would say, a lot of these people were not Creoles. They were what was called Bosal, which means that they were coming from Africa. So they knew the name of their ancestor or the first name or whichever name that they could remember. So a lot of the names that we find in Haiti till now, the Condés, Azor, Dossou, Kodio, these are straight African last names. So if you are able to, let's say you do a DNA test, you will get some African connection. That's how me and Alain, we got some African connections through DNA. The only problem is there's a gap. So we see that person is a connection to us, but we have no clue how we are connected. So let's say your last name is Kodio, which is Codio, which is the Haitian version. You might be connected with some Kojo, which is Kodjo, that you can find in some African countries and even in African Americans. So that tells you, to answer the question of how far back you can get, that gives you a lead on where you're from. So that seems to be more West African connection. So that is a lead. That's how you do research.
Thank you.
Back to you, Chantal.
Yes. I'll go with this last question. Flo, someone was asking you what was the resource you just mentioned, and also what does full text search mean?
Okay, so the website that I use most often, because it's super beginner friendly, is Family Search. And they recently introduced they have something called a Labs, which is basically a beta version of new features that are going to be released, but they're having people use them first and give feedback. So if you go into the Labs section, you'll see it on the home page when you log in. It's a free account that you create to get in there. And there's an option for the full text search. And when you do that, it'll take you to a place where you can type in a couple of search terms, whether it's a name or a place, and hit, enter. And then that will give you a lot of different documents to look at. And you can and it highlights your search terms. So you can kind of really quickly glance through and find a lot of good gems that way. So that was Family Search. The other thing I will add to the answers that were given before in terms of finding your African connection is, if you do DNA test, one of the tips that somebody who had found his African connection gave is that look for your 100% African matches. And those are the ones where if you can find them, then there's a strong likelihood that your ancestor was also from that same part of Africa. So I found a few. Some were, although they were 100% African, they were kind of all over the place, maybe nomadic. But there was one match that I found that was his father's line in particular had, for generation after generation, had not left this one part of Nigeria, and it was Enugu, Nigeria. So that was, even though I don't know the connection like we've mentioned before, it still feels good to know this part of Africa has something to do with my family, so it's baby steps, but it feels good to get that far. So that's it for me.
Thank you. Excuse me. The other question that we have is, how do you access the newspapers, libraries?
That's Alain.
So one of the websites, it's called DLOC. It's called the Digital Library of the Caribbean. And you just type in DLOC in your word search browser, and you'll be able to pull it up. I don't want to give a whole tutorial, right now, because I will take some time, but definitely reach out to me on Facebook, on Instagram, join the genealogy group on Facebook. And if not me, one of the admins or the experts will walk you through how to find it. It's simple as searching for it. Like, they have Le Matin from 1907 to almost the present day. The new release is the same thing, and there's a lot of digital stuff. You can go onto like Google Books and type in Thomas Madier, and it'll pull up whatever digitized books there is, and he is a great Haitian historian with a lot of information. So everything is digitized. So DLOC is one of the main ones, but once again, we do have a file on our Facebook group that has links to all of the websites and all of the sources that we use. And that's the easiest way for us to get it out to you, because it's a couple pages worth of links and sources. But that's my suggestion. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Jerry. He's the tech guy, so you know.
No, it's pretty much using DLOC and trying to understand exactly how the website works. But I think I think someone mentioned in the chat, and I've noticed it as well. They did work on the website. So a few years ago it was very difficult to do research, but now you can do a lot of search just by keywords. You can add several keywords. You can go into the Nouvelliste. I think Nouvelliste go back all the way to like 1860 something,
Yeah.
1850, right?
Mhm.
So that will help you, and look for these marriage records, obituaries. That's your treasure trove right there. So these are the ones that will provide all the names, the name of the groom, name of the parents of the groom, name of the bride, name of the parents of the bride. And in obituaries, you will see all the families that are connected to that person that passed. And that is so, so important, because that tells you the connections. So these are like the different people that we've been telling you about. There are friends, family, people that you're connected with, the concubine family, the Petit Deos family. Everyone is on there. You just don't know, and they don't tell you. But it's your job now, because if you're here, that means the ancestors they have chosen you. They have chosen you to be the scribe, the person that will keep the information, the records of your family. That's a very important position right there. And there's no one else doing what we're doing right now. We have AGH, we have us as the new generation. We are in touch with AGH, but you guys are the next genealogist, and it is your responsibility. I do apologize. Sorry for being here, but we have a disclaimer. Once you start in genealogy, first of all, you're gonna be addicted, because this is
Mhm.
genealogy anonymous. That's what we are. All these 46 or 50 people, that's what we are, right? You will basically sleep late. You will go through and lose your eyesight into these little documents, but it's your job now. It's your responsibility to document the story of your family.
So
Thank you.
you're passing the baton on to us, kind
We're
of, right?
passing several batons.
Several.
But this goes to my question. I'll do two more, and then the question that ties to the baton. Somebody asked about Roots Web. They're not sure if this is still if that website is still live, what happened to it.
Unfortunately, the website has been taken down because the website has not been managed for several years. It was a very interesting and very it was a good resource, but you would have all the information now on AGH. A lot of that information that was on RootsWeb is now on AGH. So Association de Généalogie d'Haïti, that's where you will find it. And yeah, unfortunately, it was not managed anymore. Unfortunately, the people that created that website, I believe it's what's the name, Manuel, I believe, and and his wife. Unfortunately, they're in their old age, and they could not manage it anymore. But we are coming out with other resources to help people connect as much as possible and do their research.
That's great. So my last question before my comment question. Kiara in the chat said that she's researched her last name and hasn't been able to get any information, any hits. So what are some advice that you can give her?
You want to take this one, Alan?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the answer. So, uh, first and foremost would be to find out where your family is from. And I don't mean, just Port-au-Prince or Pencherville, because everybody at some point might have migrated over there. Like, I thought my family was all from Pop, but come to find out, my grandmother's from Jeremy and her father's from Wanament. And then my dad's ancestors are from St. Mark, who were from it's just branch of different things. But first, it's to get as much information as you can from the family, and then try to find out where the family is from. Because I would honestly say 8 times out of 10, your family did not originate in the city. They came from the outer skirts of every other possible city and IET, and then they went to the main city. Also, if you know your family, for instance, it's from, let's say, Latibonite, right? And you know it's maybe St. Mark. Me and Flo, both of our ancestors are from St. Mark, but also all of the surrounding cities and areas. We have to understand the geography of the map of Haiti. It's not as big or as grand as our personalities. It's pretty small. So you may have 8 cities where your family were all from and all kind of located to, but it also, the research will help you. Because for instance, my family, my last name is Edhart, but the the plantation owner's last name was Thayard, Theard. And throughout time, that name has changed. The only way I figured that out was through the civil records and doing the research. So I would say you need to reach out, to family members and friends, or reach out to one of us in the group so we can help guide you on the right way. And we also have experts in the group who specialize in specific areas. They might have the information you're looking for. We have people to go to for St. Mark, for Cap Haitien, for Jeremy, who have researched the records from the 1800s to present. So make sure to ask and reach out. We are well-seasoned genealogists here. We know what's going on, but sometimes it's difficult because the names can change. Like Jerry said, there are families that, because of something that may have happened, or because of between 1793, 1805, now the first name is the last name. Your family might have fled Haiti in the 1960s and the last name changed for political security, and now it's a whole different name. Like I have a lineage where in Cap Haitien they were Guillaume Sam, and one month they were Guillaume Sam, went to Jeremy, became Guillaume, left Jeremy, and one went to New York as Cher Enfant, one went to Chicago as Cher Fee, and then another one went back to Haiti with another last name. So it's all about the oral history, the research, and notating all of your stuff, because you could speak to an aunt today and what she told you today could be the clue you needed 2 years from now. So it's all about speaking, asking, and doing the research, and you will find the answer.
On another note, something I wanted to add also when it comes to names that you're not able to find, try to figure out, and that's in your interviews, try to figure out if the name was created. Like Alan mentioned, is sometimes people are trying to escape political issues and so on. So the name can be, you could have a gap where the person decided to change their name for certain reasons. Or if you, we're not sure about your situation, the person that asked the question, it depends on the actual spelling on of the name. Let me take an example. If you have the name Saint-Élus, right? That's, a lot of people do have it written as Cintellus, right? But that in Haiti, that is there's so many possibilities to write that name. You could write it as Saint-Élus or Saint-Élise or Saint-Ulus, so work with the different ways and different version that are possible for that word, because from one document to another, the name may change because of the creolization of the word. If they start with a C that says Saint Élus, it could be because they wanted to say Saint Élus. So that Saint, C-I-N, sorry, C-I-N becomes Saint, S-A-I-N-T. So not to go into the weaves here, but it's just to show you that because of the way the history of the country, things change, right? So you need to keep an open mind. You need to really look and see, okay, if someone would say this a certain way, or say it with a little boursurette, then you have a different pronunciation, and they will put that on the paper. They will put that on the paper the same way the person mentioned it. Like there's so many stories. We could be here for a long time, but keep in mind and ask for help. We will help you regarding that.
Well, thank you so much. Those were the main category questions. My personal question is, how do we start? We've learned so much tonight. It inspires us, it got us motivated, but it's also a little bit intimidating. So, as a toddler, what would you suggest as a first step that could just get us on the way?
I can
Take it away, Flo. That's perfect for you.
that's my speed.
Yes.
One of the things that I didn't mention is that 10 years before I had the conversations with my mother about her family, my older sister had written down on a little napkin the names of all my mother's brothers and sisters. She was one of 10 children. So that was pretty, it was the thing back then for sure. And so we had that, and then she started to make like little lines showing this person married this person. And then so she was essentially drawing a little tree on a napkin. So you can start there. Start with your immediate family, put something down on paper. You start improving it little by little. Before you know it, you're going to have 20 names, 30 names, 50 names. When you get to that point, that's when you want to go online. That we talked about organizing, because the data is going to get more and more as you start finding more information, talking to more people. You're going to outgrow the napkin pretty quickly. So that's when you want to pick your software. It can be, if you don't want to go on the internet with your information, you can buy something, install it on your computer at home, and it stays at home. But definitely, you know, just start small, start on paper, and it goes from there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I see we have a slide that gives more information. So before I wrap up, please share with the attendees all the ways that they can connect with you.
Go ahead, Jerry. Take it away.
All right. So the best way to get in touch with us is definitely the Facebook group. We do make posts on our other social media, because that's the name of the game. So we do post on Instagram, TikTok is soon, YouTube also soon, but we also have our website where we can basically provide a lot of documents and trying to add more to the pages of that website as well. But the Facebook group, this is where the conversation is happening. This is where we make sure that okay, just to make sure you understand and so people don't get scared, this is not just your regular group of people that eventually you will be on a Facebook group and it's gonna be a lot of drama. We keep it drama free, no politics, no nothing, just genealogy. A little bit of information, sometimes some culture and everything, and that we will share. But the Facebook group is where to reach us, and that's where we keep it private because we know that family history sometimes can be very sensitive, so that's why we keep it private. We make sure that the information that you're sharing amongst peers, amongst people that are will understand you and are there for the same reasons as you. So that on this note, I just want to let you know that we were so happy to have you here, and if you want to contact us, the Facebook group Haitian Genealogy is where to reach us. Thank you.
If
Thank
I
you
could
so
just
much.
also add one thing. When you guys do join the Facebook group, please don't be afraid to ask any kind of question, because it is daunting at first. We gave you guys a tidbit of information today compared to what we could have given you, but don't be ashamed to ask anything. There is no such thing as a dumb question. Just ask away, because by asking you never know. And like I said, we have people that are expertise in different areas, whether you want to look into the French colony of Haiti, which is Saint Domingue, whether you want to look into specific areas, reach out and ask the question so we can help you. Closed mouths don't get fed.
Thank you so much. I would like either for you to stop sharing, or could you please share our Carolina Haitian Women's Society slide?
Yes.
That way you don't have to, undo, so that I could just introduce ourselves again. So on behalf of Carolina Haitian Women's Society, thank you so much to Haitian Genealogy for this presentation. I hope it inspires you. And one of the things that really got me to reach out to you guys to talk is the idea of what's going on in Haiti. And for us, like Jerry said, passing on the baton to preserve our individual family history, but thinking of it like a quilt with all of these parts in the quilt. That's going to be our new Haitian, well, I can't say our new Haitian flag, but like a Haitian family flag where we truly have preserved our culture, our history, and really making it alive. It's not like in the books, because you're going to have all these tidbits, all these histories. So as you can see, I'm very excited. So again, we are Carolina Haitian Women's Society. Our president is Daphne Tales La Fortune. Our vice president is Dominique Alphonse Saint-Ville. And our outreach chair is Marlene Silver. So please go to our Instagram at, I want to make sure I'm saying it right, okay? At Haitian Women's Society, and join us. Marlene, please help this person. Could you put the handle in the chat? We also have a WhatsApp chat. We can put that in there. Yes. So here, Daphne just put the link for our WhatsApp chat, and Marlene put our handle. We want to create a community where we empower women in the Carolinas, help you to connect and just celebrate being a Haitian woman. So this was really apropos for us to have you guys come in and to talk about heritage and to talk about legacy. So again, thank you so very much. The recording will be made available. I will email it out, and we're leaving again as I play our favorite IETC song. Have a good night, guys. Be inspired, and don't let that fire go out. Start doing the research.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here this evening.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure, Chantal.
Welcome.